Today, I'm going to share with you how I pot up my tomatoes. It's a great day in the greenhouse. It's almost a little bit too warm. My automatic window is partially open. That starts to open when it's over 70 degrees in here. The reason we pot these up is because they have no more space for their roots to go out, and also they've used up all the nutrition that was in this starting soil. Especially if you just use a seed starting mix, there's almost no nutrition in a seed starting mix. So you need to get them into a mix that has some compost or some nutrition. Now we're almost to the point here where it's warm enough for the tomatoes to go outside, but I'm not quite ready for that. And if the tomatoes spend another couple weeks in the greenhouse in the nice toasty conditions, that'll actually be better for them than going out in the kind of cool weather of the outside. At a certain point, you really want to get your tomatoes in the ground or else their growth will end up stunted, but mine aren't too big to be potted up once for about 3 weeks and then go into the ground. My first tip is never throw away these very useful containers that you get from the nursery. Every year I end up buying at least a handful of plants from the nursery, and whether they're flowers or whether there's some vegetables that I didn't get to grow well on my own, I end up buying some, and so I end up with quite a few of these little pots. This one's a little bit big. I prefer about 3-inch round pots or these little square pots. I love this size and I'll always save that size. They stack up really nicely and you can store them in the shed or garage, and they're perfect for this. Next thing I like to do is, instead of filling the container up and putting a hole in the middle and trying to get the tomato roots down in here, especially since I'm going to be pulling some of my tomatoes apart and their roots will be loose, I like to only fill up the pot halfway and kind of fill it up to the side, and then I can kind of drape the roots in the right direction, and then I can fill it in the rest of the way. So let's get started and I'll show you how it is that I do that. I have my pots at an angle like this. So this looks really nice. You see the roots have gone all the way around like they need to. And so they're ready for some more space. But I am going to try and tease apart the roots of these two. Drape them in the soil and then fill in the soil around it. You can fill this up with soil all the way to this all these little hairs that you can see in the sunshine here. These are all areas where this tomato plant can grow new roots out of its stem. Tomatoes are a vining plant where if you don't stake them up high, they will topple over onto the ground, and where their stem makes contact with the soil, they can grow more roots, and that helps to strengthen the plant. So we're gonna bury this all the way to here so that it can grow extra roots to support the plant. And then I'm going to fill in the other half. I don't know what any of these tomatoes are. My baby pulled out all my tags. But whatever they are, I wanted to grow them, so they'll be delicious. The reason we start them in these small containers instead of the big containers is because at this size, they take up 3 rows and an extra. Just about 3 rows of 6. And in the larger containers, they're going to take up way more space. And so when you have these inside to get them germinating, or when you have them on heat mats or on heat lamps, it's better to have them in a more compact space. But now they're ready for more space. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to feed my tomato plants. Once your seedlings get a couple sets of true leaves on them, you need to start feeding them a weekend fertilizer. So I'll look at, I use a fish fertilizer or a seaweed fertilizer, and I will look at what it says for vegetables. It says 2 tablespoons per gallon of water, and I will half that. And I'll use 1 tablespoon per gallon of water and feed them with that. And that's gonna really help them until they get into the ground where they have some more nutrition. This is smelly stuff. Now I'm gonna go put these in the shade while they drink up the fresh water. They got a good drink and a little rest, and now they've all perked back up. Plants always look a little sad when you first divide them or pot them up or disturb their roots at all. But a day later, everyone looks super happy. And they're all set to grow strong for probably another 3, maybe 4 weeks, and then I will get them in the ground. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want more tips on gardening and homesteading.